2, 1.
Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Online at madeformorerealty.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
So this is technically a real estate show, right, Matt?
Technically
a real estate show. But every now and then, I get a request from somebody, and they're like, hey, I think this would be a great guest to have on the radio station. So I got a call from this friend that used to actually be on the real estate team, and her son's a contractor, and they're like, oh my gosh, you should totally have Bob Hasty on the show, like her father-in-law. And she's like, he is like the world's most interesting man, and he's doing a lot of good things for people in the world. And people need to know what he's doing so they can support him if they're interested. And so on the show today is Bob Hasty. Thanks for being on the show, Bob.
Awesome. Great to be here with you guys.
Remember that show, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? I feel like that applies to Bob Hasty. Where in the world is Bob Hasty?
It totally does. That's what Josephine says all the time. She's like, where in the world is Bob Hasty? But Bob, you've been all over the place, helping lots of different people.
Yeah.
But recently you came back, was it in Nepal? Is that where you were recently?
Yeah.
You mind kind of sharing what it is you were doing there and maybe some things you've seen over the years?
So I've been in Nepal 10 times, and we build houses, we build churches, we dig fresh water wells for people that don't have access to water. And then we do some other things, we help with surgeries, and farmers plant crops and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing there. And do you want me to go ahead and tell that story I just told you?
Yeah, let's hear the one about the lady.
So, I think it's important that when you go to these countries, you don't just go one and done. You go and you keep going so you can build relationships and see the real needs in real time. And so wherever we build, I never know where we're building. They just tell me we're going to build a house or a church in this area. And so I won't know where it's at until I get there. Mm-hmm. Well, the places we build are on top of these mountains and these villages that take, usually 1.5 hour car ride, then a 4-wheel drive of 2.5 to 3.5 hours, and then an hour plus walk to get to these villages that are so remote. And so we had built a house for an older couple that really just lived in kind of sticks and straw and palm leaves, didn't have anything. And we built the house, and so we went up to dedicate it. And so after we finally got up there, here's this couple, and here's this great little house we built. And so we went into the house to dedicate the house and to worship. And, it was just a celebratory time. It was great. And I noticed that we went to cut the ribbon, that the wife was holding her husband's arm and then putting her hand on the walls of the house, kind of feeling it. Mm-hmm. And I remember just thinking, wow, that's kind of odd, So I leaned over to my friend who's from Nepal, and I said, what's going on there? And he said, she's blind. And so I didn't know that. I didn't know she was blind, but I thought, wow. And my first thought was, how sad you get a really nice house for that area built and you don't even get to see it. Right. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
So, that just kind of touched my heart. And we went in and we prayed and we sang and gave thanks. And then they had a nice barbecue, fresh water buffalo all barbecued up and rice. And so we're out there, and I just kept looking at this lady, and then I heard a little voice, which happens a lot, when you're out there. And this voice, I believe the voice of God, just said, infected eyes. I just heard those two words, infected eyes. And I thought, that's really weird and interesting. And so I asked my friend, I said, hey, can you get her to an eye doctor? And he said, okay, yeah. Well, to get her from where she was at to an eye doctor was no less than 5 hours. So it's 5 to 10 hours to get her there. So in a few weeks, they got her there and then found out that they could do a surgery on her eyes. So they did. I gave them, our nonprofit gave them the money to do the first surgery, did one eye, went good. She could see out of it. So then she was supposed to go back a month later, but she had something else going on physically, and they couldn't do it. So they prolonged it another month, which was actually good because I happened to be coming, 3 months later. And so after they did the second surgery, they called me back and they said, hey, she can see now.
Wow.
And I said, seriously? And they said, yeah. And so we had built a church up in that area, so I was going back there to dedicate a church that we had built. And so when I went up there, got to see this lady. And there she was, and she wasn't putting her hands on her house. She was seeing, and I sat next to her and talked to her through a translator. And she said, here's her quote, "I am so excited. I finally get to see the whole world."
Wow.
And,
Incredible.
you're just thinking, now, here's the deal. That's a great story, and I am absolutely just amazed to be a part of it. But it just speaks to a couple things here. That I've found that the more you go to places, the more you see.
Sure.
The more awareness you have. And so in this case, I saw something that, for whatever reason, nobody else had seen. A blind woman that could potentially not get, not have to stay that way. So I saw that. I saw her. And here's the deal. That surgery was $300.
Really?
So, let me just ask you guys. If you were blind and you couldn't see, and a surgery for $300 could open a whole new world to you, what would that do to you? What would that do to your heart? What would that do to your perspective of God, of community? And so that's just one of those cases where you're just going, man, that's why I keep going. It's not easy to get there. I mean, it's 30 hours, to get there one way with layovers and stuff. And then it's another, like I said, 4 hours to get to some of these places. And you have to hike, for an hour or two. And it's brutal, but it's worth it.
That's incredible. And what I was thinking about is it's Nepal.
Yeah.
They don't have ADA compliant stuff, she's having to probably grope around, feel her way through life.
Always.
And now she can walk freely. Mm-hmm. That is just, that's incredible. And for only $300.
$300. I mean, that's it. And I think a lot of times in America, we just think about countries that are so overwhelmed with poverty. They just, we just tend to think, well, what could I do? There's, what's the little I could do? And that just showed me $300. I mean, my gosh, you can get a handful of people together, come up with $300 and help somebody see. I mean, that's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But talking about third world countries, you travel all over the place.
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time in Haiti, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I started going to Haiti 12 years ago.
Okay.
Been there 30 times.
Wow.
Live to tell about it, yeah, because it's a pretty violent place, pretty crazy place.
I've heard it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Probably since 12 years ago.
Yeah. It's the gangs last report either run 100% of Port-au-Prince or 90%. And then I just found out that kids don't go to school right now because it's just too dangerous. Kidnapping and violence, and it's just too crazy.
How do you get around? Because you kind of stand out in Haiti.
Yeah, I do. I'm not like other people.
Yeah.
I just have to make it. I just got to get through Port-au-Prince Airport and then get a mile and a half down the road to the small airport. and then you take a plane and then another long drive. Once you get past Port-au-Prince, you're okay. It's Port-au-Prince that's crazy. They killed missionaries last year. They just killed 120, I think, elderly people because they had heard that these elderly people were putting voodoo spells on the gang members, and so they just executed them. These are old people. They just executed them.
My dad has a friend who is from Haiti, who's ended up being adopted by a family here in California, but he still has relatives in Haiti.
Yeah. So
he goes all the time, and my dad's gone over there with him a bunch of times.
Yep.
And it just even he, being Haitian, is afraid to go back to Haiti at certain periods because of how violent it's become.
Yeah, and it can turn on a dime. I mean, it can look peaceful one minute, and then all of a sudden they'll protest something, and they'll put tires across the road, light them on fire, and you're not going anywhere.
Wow.
And then you're vulnerable, then you're a target, and so, it's not the safest place. But it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, so that's my attraction.
Yeah, and so you've been there 30 times, and you've actually helped put a medical student through school, right?
Yeah. This is a great story. When I started going there, this kid was probably 10 or whatever. Wilson is his name, and he's just a kid that stands out.
Wait, how old did you say he was?
He's about 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about 12, young guy, and so you go up there, and it's not a big place, but you see some of the same people. And so I know a lot of the people there, and they know a lot of people, know me, and so this one kid's in school, and he plays tennis, which is the only thing they have up there is one tennis court, and they have nothing else. A soccer field. They have a soccer field, and that's really big there. But I saw this kid, and he just stood out amongst his peers, and so I got to know him over the years. And then finally, when he was in, like 9th or 10th grade, I said, what do you want to do? And most of the people there, they don't go on to bigger and better things. They go on to a different level of survival. They do what they can, and it's a survival mode. You're talking. There's hardly any house that has refrigeration. It's a day-to-day type living situation, and so I just asked him, "What do you want to do?" He said, "My dream is to be a doctor, and to even meet somebody in Haiti that has a dream is a big deal, because most don't." And so I asked him. I said, "You really want to do that, huh?" And so I talked to my friend down there who started this foundation. Him and his parents 40 years ago. And I said, "Do you think he has what it takes to be a doctor?" And they said, "Definitely." They said, "We've talked to our 2 doctors here," and they said the same thing. So I met with him and his mom. His dad abandoned them when he was young. And I said, "If you pass the entrance exams, we'll pay for your med school." And I told him and his mom that. His mom was crying. He was crying. And so last year, he went through, out of 500 open spots to get tested, he finished in the top 70.
Okay.
And so now he just finished his first rounds, 2 semesters, and he's at the top of his class.
Wow.
And so this kid, in my opinion, I'm going out on a limb here. In my opinion, I have a hunch he's going to be the best doctor in Haiti. I just believe that. I don't know where that came from. I believe that. And he's just a high quality, high character, Christ-like young man. And that's one of the things we do.
And how much does it cost to become a doctor in Haiti?
Well, I think the first year is like $4,000. Yeah.
So more than a new set of eyes, but still very affordable for a church or for people to get behind.
Absolutely, And so we've already paid his first year. And then met 3 other girls that wanted to be nurses. And so I had talked to a friend of mine, and she runs a nonprofit called Lifeline, which is a great one. They were big with the Paradise Fires and stuff. And so they had them send, why they want to be nurses and their school credentials. And they paid for these 3 young girls to be in nursing school, and they're just finishing their first year.
Wow.
So,
and that's not only going to impact the girls, that's not only going to impact the community, it's going to impact their families,
100%.
Generational change there.
Yeah, you're talking about people that have nothing. If they have a couple chickens and a goat, they're doing really good. And they all plant just little vegetables, whatever they can get their hands on. There's no store there. There's a market once a week. And that's where all the action takes place. That's where everybody goes and sells everything from full-size cows to butchered-up pigs to fish, and Adidas shoes. And
Adidas shoes. So
that aren't Adidas shoes. One shoe says Adidas, the other says Nike.
So you just got to go there daily, basically, to get to grocery shop because you don't have refrigeration. Like it's a daily thing going to the market.
Yeah. No, the market's only once a week.
Oh.
So they buy the vegetables, things that don't rot. And then, and the meat they'll dry out,
okay.
So they can eat it a little longer. But that's where it all takes place. So one guy's business there, you'll see 100 cell phones plugged in at a time, and some guy has the magic charger, and he just charges a little, and so all these people once a week get their cell phones charged there. So that's what we're talking. How far out this is, and what it takes to just make it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about another person in Haiti, the voodoo doctor story.
Yeah.
So every week on this show, you hear us talking about how Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty, they have more 5-star Google reviews than anyone else in our area, over 1,000. So we thought we would share a few with you. This is from Jacob. He gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty 5 stars on Google. He said, "I am absolutely thrilled to share my experience with this incredible real estate company from the very beginning. Valerie and her team went above and beyond." Valerie is Johnny Jennings' wife, "above and beyond to ensure that my home selling journey was smooth and successful. Their professionalism, expertise, and dedication truly set them apart. I was astonished when they sold my home for the asking price in less than 30 days. It's hard to believe that many people spend months or even years trying to sell their homes, and here I was with money in hand in such a short time. The efficiency and effectiveness of their strategy were nothing short of remarkable. Jacob goes on from there, but let's go to Manu. She gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty 5 stars on Google. And she said, I had the pleasure of working with Jose and Johnny, and I can confidently say they are exceptional professionals in the real estate industry. Their knowledge and expertise are evident in every interaction, and they go above and beyond to assist clients. Not only are they professional and thorough in their dealings, but they also are genuinely caring about their clients' needs. They take the extra step to provide detailed answers to real estate-related questions and ensure a smooth experience. I highly recommend Jose and Johnny to anyone looking for dedicated and knowledgeable real estate professionals. Those are just 2 testimonies from Google, folks that have worked with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty and gave them 5 stars on Google. They have well over 1,000 of them. You can go check them out for yourself and read them and find out why so many people trust Johnny Jennings with the sale of their home. And not only the sale, but if you need someone to walk alongside you because you're looking for that perfect home to purchase for yourself, or maybe it's for your kids or a family member, they are the one that most people go to in our area. In fact, they were voted number 1 team in Roseville for 3 straight years in a row. In fact, listen to this. If you don't want to go through all the hassles of doing open houses and stagings and organizing or even some costly home repairs, listen to this. They'll give you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Again, 3 cash offers, not 1, not 2, but 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. What do? You just Google Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. Again, Johnny Jennings, Made for More Realty. Just Google them and find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. So Google them today and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So we're back with Bob Hasty with Rebuild Global. And you had this story you wanted to share about voodoo witch doctors in Haiti.
Yeah.
You mind sharing what that is about?
Yeah, voodoo and witch doctors, it's a common practice there, and they even advertise it. So you'll see a red and black flag in the front of somebody's little house, and that's just a sign that this is where you come to get spells and witchcraft. And
kind of like a barber pole?
Healing, yeah, kind of. I mean, you see it. And these people are, in my opinion, legitimately oppressed, possessed by demonic stuff.
Really?
The stories are crazy. I mean, there's crazy stories that you would just scratch your head and go, just no way. And so I was walking in this just little bunch of shacks, and I see this guy, I see his little tin hut, and he's got probably 50 alcohol bottles just piled up in his front yard, you know. And so I just walk over to the guy, say, hey, how you doing? You know, and he's missing all his teeth and dirty, lives on the dirt floor, doesn't have a bed, doesn't have anything, you know. And so,
but he's got 50 empty alcohol bottles.
50 empty alcohol bottles piled up in his front yard. So I take my friend in there and I introduce myself, and so we have a conversation to a translator. And my friend, who works with the big church up there, knows this guy, and his reputation precedes him. Everybody knows who this guy is. And he was the guy that a witch doctor would hire to go do bad things in the middle of the night. So let's just say you had an axe to grind with Matt here, and you wanted to put spells on him. You'd go to the witch doctor and put spells on him, and then this guy would go do bad things to Matt. So,
are you serious?
I'm 100% serious. And so this was this guy's reputation. I'm not going to call him a hitman, but side conversations with people says that he's done some things. And so I got to talking to him about the gospel. I got to talking to him about Jesus. My testimony, I used to be an alcoholic. Read the gospels, prayed. God delivered me 45 years ago from an alcohol addiction. So I shared with him, and he quickly informed me that he was afraid of his boss. that he lived in fear of this man because he had him under his control. And then he looked at me and he said, through a translator, he says, I have done many bad things in my life. And I told him, so have I. And I said, you need a new Lord. This guy is not called to be your Lord. He's not called to be your ruler or master. There's a new Lord. And I told him about Jesus and how he can set him free and how he can forgive him from all the things that he feels bad about. And so, after about an hour, I said, why don't we get on our knees and why don't you ask Jesus to be your Lord, be your Savior, and why don't you follow him as your master? And he did. And we got down, he was crying, we got down on our knees and we prayed, and he received the Lord. Now, that's a big thing. 3 months later, I go back to visit him. I give him some money for some clothes, some food, because he had nothing. He had in his front yard a little place where he did his fires, and there was a pot with some grass and some leaves in it. So I think he was making some soup or something, but there was nothing there, And he was skinny as a bone, and so got him some food, got him a bag of rice, got him some things to help him, bought him a bed, which was amazing. 3 months later, I go back, and all the bottles are gone. Now, I never told him he should stop drinking. I never told him anything about it. We didn't even have that conversation. But he got rid of it on himself, and he stopped drinking. And so my friend said that, who's a leader in this church, he said, and I told him, I said, you go to church. When he came to church, everybody in the church just stopped and looked at him because they knew who he was. He was a bad guy. And they were, to be honest, this church was a little afraid of him. But that was 2 years ago. And he is there every Sunday worshiping God.
Wow.
Then a year ago, we built him a new house.
Wow.
So this guy went from being oppressed, living in fear, bound by alcohol, to clothed, fed, new house, goes to church every Sunday. He's a different man.
Incredible.
Different man. Completely different man.
What prompted you to go up to him originally?
Couldn't tell you.
But so it wasn't like somebody told you. Hey.
No. Just start walking around. You start walking around. I'm big on, we're in Ephesians where it says that we're not saved by good works, but God has prepared good works for us before the foundation of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a lot of years to just figure out. It's a very simple plan of God. I just simply have to ask, what's the good works that you've created me for, and where do I do them? So if you just wander around, if you just get out of the comfort zone, out of the bubble, out of Roseville,
right?
Just go and you'll start seeing some stuff. And when you start seeing some stuff, your heart will get moved. When your heart gets moved, then you start doing things. And then you start seeing change and transformation take place in communities, churches, and individuals.
So what's your strategy? What are the keys to going into a country, a culture that is 180 degrees opposite of the United States?
Yeah.
And where these people already have walls put up
Yeah.
of who's this guy? He doesn't speak my language.
Yeah.
He looks completely different from me. How are you able to make those effective connections with people that are so different from you?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think we need to realize is that when you go to these countries, most of them are glad you're there.
Are they?
Because they know where we came from.
Oh, gotcha.
They know what's going on in America. They know this is paradise. So for them, it really evokes curiosity. Like, why would this guy come here? They know what we leave from. And so they're automatically impressed. And then if you just start relating, eating their food, sitting with them, and then you want to help, then it's like they just absolutely love it. They absolutely love it when we come. Now, we're careful. I'm careful when I go that we don't take jobs from the people that are there. I have a guy in Haiti that I met, and once again, I felt like God told me, hey, connect with this guy. And he was a young guy, and he had built a house, and so I asked him to be my new contractor. And so this young guy, he was probably 29, but he knows how to build a house, has built 2 churches for me and about 6 houses.
Wow.
And all of them are excellent. Concrete, tin roof, quality. So the first thing you have to find the person of peace, the person that God wants you to relate to. And then when you find that person, then you really get relationally connected to that person. which is once again why I go back. Why I go back is so I continue the relationship. I see, is this where our money went? There's accountability, and that just keeps going.
But we talked about Haiti, we talked about Nepal, but you've gone and you're involved in, I think, 4 countries?
Yeah, Pakistan, Albania, Nepal, and Haiti are the main 4 that I go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you pick where you're going to focus?
You know, what's that story in the book of Acts where Paul was going to one place and the Holy Spirit forbid him? It's really the only place you see God forbidding people to go. Well, what was going on is there was a man praying in Macedonia for help. And so God just redirected him to that guy. So, I mean, we don't think about it very much, but a good question to ask ourselves is, whose answer to prayer might I be? I mean, there's somebody praying. Well, I believe that I'm there by the sovereignty of God. I believe I'm there because, well, in fact, I'll just tell you, the place we go in Haiti, up in these mountains, the lady whose husband founded 12 churches up there as a medical doctor, 12 churches, and they are fully functioning, doing well, and run from anywhere from 75 to 400 people in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
You know, he would treat patients, preach the gospel to them. They'd become Christians. He would start a church. Well, when they had these churches, his wife would just, who served the poor up there, would just pray, just intensely every day. God, would you provide church buildings for these 12 churches? And then I'm going to say about 10 years ago, I took a team up there and we found these needs. And then I brought a couple construction guys and God laid it on their heart. So now all 12 of these churches have buildings. She had been praying for a long time.
10 years.
Yeah, longer.
Yeah.
86, 96. Oh, yeah, she'd been praying for 20 years.
Oh, gosh.
And she's 91, and she's
Nice.
amazing. She's an amazing woman. And so here's 12 churches. So my point is, you know, it can maybe sound a little arrogant, like, I was an answer to prayer. Well, you just don't wander up to these places. This isn't a place you even know where they are. You couldn't get there if you tried to.
Got it.
So that's kind of how we go. And then so there's a divine thing that goes on in these things. And they're all just a little different. Yeah.
And if somebody wants to reach out and help with Rebuild Global, what's the best way to do that?
You know, I'm on social media. I just kind of do both my personal and Rebuild Global. You know, you can go to Robert Hasty on Instagram, Bob Hasty on Facebook, Rebuild Global on social media. You can go to my website, rebuildglobal.org or .com. They can donate. You can donate. You can.
And it's the number 3, right?
Yeah, the number 3. Yeah. So that's that's what we do, and we're always doing that. So I'm going every 2.5 months to these countries, and you know, Pakistan. You mentioned Pakistan. I mean, I committed to go there before I even knew where it was or what it was like. The church that I had pastored up in Washington had a family from Pakistan, and they said you should get to know my brother. And so somebody I knew that knew him got me on the phone with him, and he said, "Come on over, brother, come to Pakistan." I said, "Sure," you know, because I'll go anywhere. And then I looked up what goes on in Pakistan, and for the Christian, it's not really good at all.
Was the brother a Christian that you were communicating with?
Yeah, and he does outreach there. And so I went over there the first time with, you know, a little hesitancy. It's an oppressive culture to Christians. It's 98% Muslim, 2% Christians, and there are things that go on all the time. They can falsely accuse somebody. There's signs in I drove by a restaurant with my friends that said, "No Christians work here." That was their advertising. "No Christians work in our restaurant, so it's clean." That was their advertising.
Oh.
So they live under this oppression, you know. And, you know, there was a church right on the border of India that India fired some rockets and blew the roof of this church off. So they prayed, we prayed for a couple of years. There was no roof. I mean, it was an open air brick church with no roof. And
So this wasn't like the recent conflict between Pakistan and India. This was years in the making.
Oh, this always goes on. In this one particular region, every few weeks they get a bad attitude and start shooting at each other. I can take you to places where mortars are positioned under camouflage, ready to just push buttons at any minute. They're 300 yards from the border. And so they'll just trade rockets every once in a while. And so this roof was blown off, and so we were able to replace the roof. And so, it's a little safer, and, it's still dangerous, but, And then another city 2 years ago, Jaranwala, they went after the Christians and burned down 80 houses, some churches. And you got to remember, these people have nothing. They have a bed. They may have a refrigerator. They have fans. They have their clothes, and these were torched. They just torched. So we started providing, blankets, beds, fans, some washing machines, food, because they had nothing. And you're not getting any help. They're not going to get any help.
And they were torched because they were Christians?
Absolutely, 100%. And somebody said that guy blasphemed their prophet, which nobody over there is going to do that because of retaliation. I have videos of people getting beat to death. It's brutal. It's cruel. They live under fear all the time. There's mosques everywhere. The prayer goes out 5 times a day, and there's fear. They live in fear, and you can see it. I'll be doing a meeting, and they'll look normal, and then all of a sudden there'll be a glaze over their eyes, and you'll just see it. It's fear. That at any moment, at any time, anybody could make up anything about them, and then it can radically change their lives forever. Yeah.
That's incredible, though, that they believe what they believe.
It's unbelievable. It really is when you see these people, and they're passionate. Yeah, they don't turn down the volume. They put, when I go and we do outreaches, they'll put speakers. I mean, some of the biggest speakers you've ever seen. And half mile, they'll hear it a half mile. And then we'll see Muslims will sneak into our meetings to get prayer.
Really?
Yeah, because they've heard that Christians get healed at some of these meetings. So they'll sneak in without their mosque knowing. And pastor will say these people, and it'll be all hush-hush, and we'll pray for them. Yeah.
Wild.
Uh-huh. The things we take for granted, why should you go? There's like 50 reasons to go, but one of them is we don't realize how good we got it here. I mean, I call Roseville the Truman Show. It's perfect. Everything's perfect. There's restaurants, there's malls, there's, all kinds of things to do. And it's perfect. It's idyllic. It's comfortable. It's beautiful. And then you go to these other countries, you realize they don't live like this.
Yeah.
And they are grateful for anything they get. You don't see entitlement. That's one thing you don't see in these countries. You don't see entitlement.
What about their state of being? Like, are they joyful?
Absolutely, 100%. I've taken over 250 people to these countries, and they all of our teams will go. It's just mind blowing. They have nothing. Mm-hmm. When I say nothing, some of them don't have shoes. If they do, they have flip flops or missized shoes that they found. They have nothing. There are people that, they may eat once a day. They may get meat once a week, like a piece of chicken. But it's all rice. Every day, it's all rice. And that's it. And so when I take, and it's kind of funny because I'll take team and I'll just say, hey, what touched you here, and people will cry. People will make promises. I'm never going to drink at Starbucks again. I'm never spending $6 on it. And I'll just tell them, calm down. That's your good intention, but that's a new form of legalism. And the reality is you are going to have a Starbucks. So don't. Just ask God what he wants you to do. And I can tell you that out of the 250 people I've taken on mission trips, all except one have gone back multiple times.
Really?
Yep, 100%. There's young people that went, I didn't even know it. They started supporting a family every month. Family of like 6. I didn't even know it until I went back to this one particular place and found out. And so just the fact that somebody would be touched, not advertise it, and just go do it, was just amazing to me.
How were they sending the money? Was it like Western Union or?
Well, that's where you got to be careful. That's, once again, I go to verify. I go to make sure needs are legitimate. Because unfortunately what happens in a lot of these countries, you can just get 25 kids, put them in a parking lot, take a picture, get a banner, call it an orphanage, and then they can, send it to Americans, and people will send money to them. But there's no orphanage. There's just some guy that had 25 kids he got a picture of, and he's getting money. So I tend to really validate who they are, what's going on, build a relationship, and then if they ask right off the bat, I tend to shy away. If it's relationship first, and then I have history of what they've been doing before I got there, then I go. Then you can give. And so sometimes I'll use the Wise app. And once again, the reason I go every couple months is to follow up on everything that we're doing.
Sure.
Yeah. So they send people send donations to 3 Build Global. Then I'll send money or bring it. I'll bring a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then,
the reason why I asked was because my again, going back to my dad, and he supports kids in Haiti.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just hard for them. Like, they don't even want to go to the banks because then they're getting mobbed.
Yes.
Or robbed as they leave the
That's
banks.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
So you use Wise is what you use if you
I'll
have to send
use the
money?
Wise app. I'll go, bring the money, use my friend. Then I'm always following up.
Local contact,
well established over years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one of our mottos is we don't give where we don't go. I don't send money just to send money. That's not what we're about. We're about relationships. We're about walking with people. We're not about being the savior to them, but we're there to help them. I believe one of my callings is to help people that have zero vision beyond survival to say the same God that loves me is the same God that loves you. And provision may look a little different here versus there, but it's still the same God. God is still generous. God is still loving. At the end of the day, the failure of poverty in the world, and I didn't plan on saying this, maybe wrong, I think the failure of poverty is really the failure of the church to get beyond itself. You look at the average budget of a church, just where does the money go? There's a lot of staff. Yeah, you need staff. There's a lot of building. Yeah, you need a lot of building. But when you go from our opulent churches to people that have nothing, it rearranges the way you think and what you prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the accoutrements of a nice church versus somebody getting fed for a year because we helped them plant crops, or we started a goat farm in Haiti. I know nothing about animals, but I just asked a question. How much is a goat? My friend said $40. I said, so if we get 15 goats, can we start a goat farm? He said, sure. So bought 15 goats, got some people to donate, buy a goat, and now there's like 40 goats. They multiply quick. So now they've got something to barter with. They've got something to feed their churches. So that's, yeah.
I tend to agree. Where's the money go? Where's that line between what we need and excess?
Yeah, well, here it's like, and I'm no different. I like comfort, man. I don't. Some of these places are so hot and so humid. You go to speak at a church in Pakistan and there's a heat wave. Well, it's already 90 degrees, so for them a heat wave was 108. So now you cram 300 people in a building with no air conditioning, and you haven't even spoke, and you are completely soaked in sweat. Completely soaked. So it's like, what do you need? I need water. I need a bottle of water, please. Yeah. That's all I need. And some salt to replenish.
Well, to get Bob and 3 Build Global some salt and water, just go to 3buildglobal.com.
Yeah, and you can just, whatever, there's some, I haven't been there in a while, but you can just click a box, send some money. If you put a footnote where you'd like to see it go. We do education. We started 4 schools. We just helped start a girls' home in Nepal that I was there a month and a half ago, and it was the first week of 7 girls from villages that either had been abandoned by their parents, abused by their parents, and so these 7 girls, or one, actually a couple that we built a house for had 2 young kids, and they couldn't provide for the kids, so they willingly wanted their daughter to be raised where they're going to get an education and offered their daughter to live in this girls' home.
Wow.
And I mean, that's just, one girl had her fingers burned off, and so at her village school, everybody thought she had leprosy. So she didn't have a friend in the world, and everybody would just yell and run from her. And to see her getting healed from that trauma is pretty spectacular.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and they're in a nice house with a just caring couple that I've known for a few years now. And I was there before it opened. I was there a month after it opened, and I'll be there next month now to do a 3-month checkup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bob, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. I'm so glad Josephine connected us.
You know what? Thank you for having me. This is a blast. Thank you.
Want to share some more testimonies, which you can find on Google. Just search Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. There's a reason why they have over 1,000 5-star Google reviews, more than anyone else in our area. Here's an example from Chris. He said, Valerie and Johnny Jennings, Valerie is Johnny's wife, were wonderful with us. They are very professional and continued to stay in contact with us all through the whole process of selling our home. They were also very patient with us because of a few setbacks. They were unbelievable because they had the house sold within a week. I would recommend them to anyone who needs a great real estate company. Thanks for everything, Chris. Christina, who also gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty 5 stars on Google. She said, Jose is truly exceptional. He's part of the team. He is incredible, efficient, proactive, and always delivers high quality results at lightning speed. His willingness to lend a helping hand is unmatched. I highly recommend Jose and the entire Made for More team. They're a dream to work with. That was Christina. And again, she gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team 5 stars on Google. So there's a couple of examples. You can go read them for yourself. Again, just Google Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. Find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. So if you're looking to sell your home or purchase a home, they'll walk you through the process like so many people have and are so happy with their results. They're great to work with. So again, just Google Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings online at madeformorerealty.com.
Well, that was incredible, learning from Bob Hasty and everything he's doing.
What a great heart. Yes, love that.
Yeah, definitely pulls on the heartstrings and makes you reevaluate what's going on in your life.
That's right. What are the priorities? What investments have eternal reward, you know?
Yeah. Rather than, the right here, right now. And
that's right.
But there is the right here, right now, and people are, a lot of people are confused about what's happening in the real estate market. I was told for years and years and years, Johnny, you are, because I've only air quotes been doing this for about 10 years, and people were telling me, Johnny, you've only known a good market. So, and if somebody got into real estate around 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there, or later, they've only air quotes known a good market until about 2022, mid 2022 for real estate agents. So there's this generation of agents who, for a long period of time, had never experienced a challenging market.
Here in California.
Well, just nationally.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there was like a devastation, like, a natural disaster.
Right.
But what I would argue as well is there's about 15 years worth of home buyers and sellers who have not experienced a down market ever. Right? They bought their first house maybe in 2010, 2011, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so affordable. And then they sold it in 2016, made a boatload of money, and then rolled that into their next property. Mm-hmm. And now they're looking to sell that property and make a lot of money. And they're like, and now all of a sudden the experience is different. It's taking longer to sell. The house is worth less now than what it was a year ago for what their neighbor's house sold for.
Right.
But they had written their budget based on that. And then before we get into like just what's happening in the real estate market, if you are looking to sell your house, and I say this with all love, kindness, and sincerity, it's not based off your budget. The value of the home is not based off of your budget. When you buy a stock, it's not based off your budget. When you're selling your car, you don't go, okay, well, I bought the car for $10,000 and I need an extra $5,000. So I need to sell the car for $15,000, $16,000 in order to to make my budget work.
Right.
The car is worth what the car is worth. The home is worth what an able buyer is willing to pay. You can't reverse engineer this stuff. There's so many people out there whose their retirement is based off the equity in their home, and they say, hey, you know what? I need to make the most amount possible, and I totally get that. I empathize with that, but I can't get you more for your home than it's worth. So just because you bought it for $400,000, your neighbor sold last year for $600,000.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're getting $625 this year. In all reality, you're probably getting somewhere between $550 and $575 this year. And that is not because the real estate agent is not doing their job. That's because that's what the buyer in today's market is willing to pay. For example, year over year in the Sacramento regional market, year over year across, all these different cities, it's gone down about 1.5% as of June. It's gone down, not up.
Right.
And so if you're living in a home that's, worth, let's say $600,000, it's gone down about $8,000. It hasn't gone up since last year. It's gone down $8,000 since last year. And then, so there's a guy, we talk about him often. He's been on the show before, Ryan Lundquist, and he has some great stats that he talks about. And 34% of pendings in June in the Sacramento region needed a price drop before getting into contract. On average, the price adjustment was 5.7%. So let's use that $600,000 home price. Again, for some people, that's a lot of money. For other people, that's not a lot of money. It's more middle of the road price point, $600,000. That's over $30,000 below what they thought the house was worth initially, just to get into contract. And that's not counting any concessions that happen once you're in contract. And so if you are a buyer, for nearly a decade, I've been waiting to hear, hey, when prices go down, I'll buy. When prices go down, I'll buy. Well, guess what? If that is you, prices are going down. It is a great time to get a deal on a home right now. And I don't think it's going to last. As soon as they figure out tariffs, as soon as this Iran thing settles down, interest rates will then fall. And all of a sudden, you're going to see a little housing air quotes boom.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I think because there's a lot of pent up demand. So many buyers are sitting on the sidelines.
This year?
It depends on how long it takes to get those two things figured out.
Yeah.
And I think they're really close to figuring out those two things. The conversations that have already happened with China, the stuff that's been going on with Iran and Israel, hopefully they can get that resolved. And if those two things settle down, you'll probably see more confidence in the market. Jerome Powell will finally decide to, hey, you know what? Maybe we should do a price adjustment. There's jobs, there's stability, things are good. And then as soon as those price drops go down, as soon as those interest rates fall just a little bit, 0.25%, 0.5%, then all of a sudden I think you're going to see a bunch of buyers jump into the market, driving those prices up.
Oh, man.
So if you're wanting to get a great deal on a home, now is the time. And sellers, but that's not guaranteed, right? So if you're a seller, I'm not saying wait because prices are going to go up. You have to do what's based off now. Hogs get fed, pigs get slaughtered. Did I say that right? Or pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered? Whatever it is, don't get greedy. Because if the numbers work for you right now, sell your house. Because if this drags out, your house could be worth less in March, April, May than it is right now.
Nobody has a crystal ball.
Nobody has a crystal ball. But that is what's happening in the market. I don't know who you are. I'm not trying to get a quick sale out of your house. I have no dog in this fight. So if you are feeling frustrated with your real estate agent, as long as they have a strong marketing plan and they're communicating with you, understand that this is the market. Your realtor doesn't make the market.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people appreciate about you and your team is you tell it like it is. You don't sugarcoat it and you're real with people. And I think people appreciate that.
Absolutely.
They appreciate that. I don't want a BSer. I don't want to work with a BSer. I want to work with somebody that I can trust, and someone I can trust tells me like it is,
I was just at an appointment 2 days ago, and the sellers I would have been their third realtor. And they're like, Johnny, we need this much. Is this realistic? We don't need to move, but we need to make this much money. Like, tell us honestly, because if you think you can do it, we'll move forward. If not, then we'll wait till you say to go. And I said, hey, based off what you're wanting, I don't think you can get that much for the home right now. So let's just keep our finger on the pulse and move forward. And they said, thank you. That's what we were thinking. But everybody just keeps saying they can get us our price, and then they can't get us the price. And, it's...
Yeah. People appreciate that.
They like, if you're looking for somebody that's honest, like, there are some good realtors out there. But if you'd like to connect with us and our team, just go to madeformorerealty.com. We'd be happy to help you.
So every week on this show, you hear us talking about how Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty, they have more 5-star Google reviews than anyone else in our area, over 1,000. So we thought we would share a few with you. This is from Jacob. He gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty 5 stars on Google. He said, I am absolutely thrilled to share my experience with this incredible real estate company from the very beginning. Valerie and her team went above and beyond. Valerie is Johnny Jennings' wife, above and beyond to ensure that my home selling journey was smooth and successful. Their professionalism, expertise, and dedication truly set them apart. I was astonished when they sold my home for the asking price in less than 30 days. It's hard to believe that many people spend months or even years trying to sell their homes, and here I was with money in hand in such a short time. The efficiency and effectiveness of their strategy were nothing short of remarkable. Jacob goes on from there, but let's go to Manu. She gave Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty 5 stars on Google. She said, I had the pleasure of working with Jose and Johnny, and I can confidently say they are exceptional professionals in the real estate industry. Their knowledge and expertise are evident in every interaction, and they go above and beyond to assist clients. Not only are they professional and thorough in their dealings, but they also are genuinely caring about their clients' needs. They take the extra step to provide detailed answers to real estate related questions and ensure a smooth experience. I highly recommend Jose and Johnny to anyone looking for dedicated and knowledgeable real estate professionals. Those are just 2 testimonies from Google, folks that have worked with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty and gave them 5 stars on Google. They have well over 1,000 of them. You can go check them out for yourself and read them and find out why so many people trust Johnny Jennings with the sale of their home. And not only the sale, but if you need someone to walk alongside you because you're looking for that perfect home to purchase for yourself, or maybe it's for your kids or a family member, they are the one that most people go to in our area. In fact, they were voted number 1 team in Roseville for 3 straight years in a row. In fact, listen to this. If you don't want to go through all the hassles of doing open houses and stagings and organizing or even some costly home repairs, listen to this. They'll give you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Again, 3 cash offers, not 1, not 2, but 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. What do? You just Google Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. Again, Johnny Jennings, Made for More Realty. Just Google them and find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. So Google them today and get more for your home.